Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Live on the Edge podcast, where we explore how AI and edge computing, together with cloud and data center, are transforming the life on the edge for communities, for market verticals, and for the physical environment that we have worldwide. I'm your host, Joseph Celestio, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Blaize. And today I'm joined by these two innovators that I have and that I'll be proud to call partners that's driving the next generation in smart infrastructure and edge AI. I have Francisco Sotto, CEO of VSaaS.ai, and I have Daniel Pfeiffer, COO and VP of Partnership at OrionVM. Francisco, Daniel, thank you for joining me.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
So before we start, let me provide a quick introduction about Blaize. Blaize is a trusted AI platform for practical and solution-driven intelligence. We enable hybrid AI infrastructure, which is heterogeneous in nature, to deliver the secure, power-efficient compute and software to solve real customer problems and drive measurable business outcomes through critical sectors in the market sub-verticals, such as smart infrastructure, retail, and defense. I would like to also to give the opportunity for Francisco and Daniel to introduce themselves and also their company. Francisco, why don't we start with you? And Daniel, you can continue.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Joseph. Great to be here. My name is Francisco Sotto, founder CEO of VSaaS. We are a video analytics platform. We started like 7 years ago. So we're trying to solve the problem of CCTV control rooms by enable AI infrastructure as a service.
I'm Daniel Pfeiffer, COO and VP of Partnerships here at OrionVM. OrionVM was founded in Sydney, Australia. The founders of the company were inspired by supercomputing at CERN, and we have built our own custom cloud stack that's ideal for hosting both AI and general purpose workloads with exceptional performance and efficiency. We were one of the first pioneers to build a hyperconverged stack with InfiniBand, and InfiniBand is the interconnect used in 450 out of the world's top 500 supercomputers. And we now have prominent reseller channels across North America and Australia, but we are expanding globally very quickly.
That's excellent. Daniel, actually, can we touch a little bit more about that and also kind of expand a little bit more with the origin story? Why don't you tell us a little bit more? Basically, how did that journey, how did that kind of transition happen? You start in the supercomputing architecture, right? In HPC.
Yes.
How did that foundation lead to the cloud model for AI infrastructure you're building today?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So at the time, the founders of Orion were looking at the technologies used in supercomputing, and were very ambitious to take that tech and make that available for general purpose cloud. And so we built, as I mentioned, one of the first hyperconverged stacks, where we can now merge compute, storage, and networking into a single layer and very efficiently scale. And then that was used to now power a white label cloud service for various partners, telcos, MSPs, system integrators. We simplify and we basically take a complex set of infrastructure, and we make it very easy, and we effectively SaaSify IaaS. We make it easy for our partners now to brand and build their own cloud computing solution, bring it to market under their brand, and do that very quickly, and have that brand identity and ownership, and also a differentiation in terms of the performance and cost savings.
I like the word SaaSify. It sounds so sassy. SaaSify your IaaS, and IaaS in this case basically talk about infrastructure as service, right? From
Correct.
that perspective. So I guess the is the first foundational model in any cloud offering, right? You first start with the infrastructure, you provide compute, storage, and any of those type of those commodities typically, right? You get from the server and system.
Yes.
But in this AI infrastructure is a little bit different because it is a little bit more complex. It is it's not that well defined as we have a typical server, right?
Yeah.
In this case.
No,
Right.
definitely. And we have a product called a Micropop where we can deliver a managed cloud appliance on-prem or into the data center of choice. And to give that control and give a private cloud into a facility where the partner wants ownership, control, and actually be able to optimize that stack. That's kind of a differentiation for Orion. There's obviously the hyperscalers, the big guys.
Yeah.
You can get a multi-tenant solution, but usually there's a sacrifice in terms of security. Also, a lot of those systems are cheap to start out, but then very expensive as you scale. So we kind of fill a gap in the market we see between buying and building your own cloud or using a hyperscaler. That's kind of a sweet spot for Orion.
I love that sweet spot. Sweet spot is actually what makes us to be, kind of a dynamic, robust, and kind of a keep differentiating, right? Very competitive in the market. So
Definitely.
absolutely love that. Well, Francisco, knowing you, talking to you basically within the last year here, basically, I know you as a partner. You have a compelling story as well, right? Andre, your company started with solving wildfire detection challenges. Share us basically how is that early problem in kind of wildfire detection shape VSaaS right now, your platform, your roadmap, and then where you're going to go.
Yeah, no, we started with this problem with Wi-Fi. It was a electrical company that has so many electrical substations around Chile. So there was a big wildfire back then. So before VSaaS, we used to come from the IoT space. So we tried to connect everything. And these customers told us, hey, you can connect everything. Why don't you connect my cameras to detect wildfire? So we were like, not again with my co-founder. But we connect those cameras. And the problem that we did understand that we understood the problem of wildfire, but then we understood the problem of emergency that's 24/7. Because most of this company has this infrastructure like camera, CCTV control room, and they have behind that, all that infrastructure, they have people watching everything. So all the emergency was, the trigger alarm was a human. And the problem of that is a human is not 24/7. So they buy this expensive infrastructure like a camera, everything. But the most important component that was who triggers that alarm was a person or a shift of person watching this, and we try to detect those fire or smoke using algorithms, but we understood that the problem was the algorithm itself was solving this problem, that it was an emergency and somebody has to be 24/7. And then we saw that, that problem, many companies face this problem of alarms. The wildfire was for us the critical and most obvious thing.
Yes.
But then we understood that not just electrical company has this problem, municipality, retail, all they have this problem, they have this infrastructure and they have people behind that. So we understood that, first of all, the opportunity was enable this existing infrastructure and put AI on top of it. And then the second problem, how you make it not expensive, because I always make a joke. You can drive an Uber with your car, but buying a Ferrari, it looks cool, but as a service, it will never scale. So we solved that, and that's why at some point we met Blaize, and our decision was how we scale it. And this partner, and obviously with OrionVM, we believe that the problem of scaling this, connecting thousands of millions of cameras in this space of emergency, we can make it happen using AI.
That's excellent. Obviously I heard some of those triggers, right? And I think that the connection may, a lot of people basically may not see that, like the obvious things that start from connected IoT. People just want to be connected in this physical environment in which what happened. And then from the detection, as you mentioned, there's an urgency, there's an emergency aspect of it, right? Because if something happens, I have to know right away on real time.
But the problem is, but how is the price if I want to connect not one camera? Because all this infrastructure that we connect is a 1,000, 10,000 cameras project. So then becomes the challenge that the customer say, hey, I understand the value of the AI, but the problem that I'm not willing to pay for that, because they have two options. I move to AI,
Yeah.
but then it's too expensive to adopt. So the challenge that the speed of implementation is not moving faster because there are so many infrastructure available today in the AI space that for this area of surveillance, people are not willing to pay for that infrastructure right now. So what we have created is a way that problem is solved because we take care of that. And nobody's seen it. That everybody's like in this shadow of reality that AI is going to solve everything, which it's going to do that. We already know that. But the challenge that is coming, and now we're trying to solve that, is how we make it accessible for a company that has 10 camera or a big company that has 1 million camera.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
agree
point.
with that.
That's a great point, Francisco. How you get there, right? Because everybody knows AI is transforming everything, but how do I get there economically? How do I leverage my existing infrastructure? And how do I do it in a way where I can integrate with my existing IT environment? That is a challenge. And I feel like that's kind of the outcome of our partnership between Orion, Blaize, and VSaaS. We bring expertise at different levels that solve that problem in a turnkey, simplified way.
You mentioned about SaaSifying the IS. Tell me a little bit more about those things that in AI, how would you SaaSify those infrastructure?
AI can have a great complexity in terms of the hosting environment. So you have various accelerators, you've got your compute, and a lot of these companies aren't built to actually have a sophisticated IT department themselves and build that out. But they want a certain amount of control and they want a certain amount of scale where they can start maybe small and then scale to very high load and support lots of cameras, lots of clients. So that's something. So Orion, we're in that cloud space where we simplify that process. We have a platform where a partner can very quickly come and set up their environment and deploy their applications. And we've integrated with VSaaS, so their system and their platform for managing these cameras and then leveraging Blaize for the inferencing, it can all be done in a configurable turnkey manner. And so that complexity really becomes reduced, but now you have a sophistication of functionality that really now can support a very complex video surveillance environment. You can leverage existing CCTV and VR systems, and you don't, as Francisco was saying, you don't have to replace. You can take what you already have and now add this layer of sophisticated threat detection on top of it very quickly.
Francisco, to you on this one, based upon that infrastructure now, based upon Daniel's, let's say, assessment, and also what he has done, what OrionVM provides, is ready. Do you agree with that?
I mean, we started with that philosophy the first day 7 years ago with this electrical company. We understood that customers already have infrastructure.
Yeah.
So you don't need to replace that. It's not going to do that. And it happened in other industry, the same philosophy. In the transportation industry, Uber made the same thing.
Yeah.
They believe that any car can transform into a taxi and change the industry. Or what happened with Netflix? They thought that you don't need to go to a market and get a video. You can do that in the same in the cloud. So
absolutely.
We're trying not replace the industry. It's just telling the industry, hey, the industry really has camera. So that's the first thing that changed the space. The second thing is that AI has to somehow, in terms of emergency, understand the emergency. It's not just the detection, because wildfire, the good thing about wildfire that everybody understands that, but the problem is not detecting fire, it's detecting is how this fire is going to spread. We have worked that over the past 7 years. We incorporate that models, and when we find partners like OrionVM of Blaize that it can make it happen faster, it can really grow. Today, the industry somehow, there are other companies that are joining together. Nobody can do this thing by themselves. It's extremely expensive. And time to market is today or yesterday. I believe it's yesterday. I think we are solving this problem end to end. Daniel was saying that sometimes end user doesn't have this IT department, so they don't know how to do it. I mean, they don't understand the AI, but they look back to the company and say, hey, who's going to manage this? So
I agree.
That's one part of the problem. Or even the AI, where I'm going to buy all this AI chip infrastructure. The good news is that we already understood that. So we are solving it. And people who are like customers or big companies that we're talking to, we are telling them, hey, we are the right partner to make it. You become a reseller, or you end user can transform your entire company as a SaaS model. Because we already have that expertise.
That complexity and what we solve and remove that headache for the client, they can now focus on delivering their core services. So that's another thing. Like, this complexity takes away from the main value that they're bringing in terms of delivering a service or have a product offering. So by the fact that we simplify that, they can actually be more effective now on what they're focused on.
Whatever it is that we're providing, either from the software stack or from the hardware stack or from the actual infrastructure itself, right? The managed IT as service, it has to solve business problems. Daniel, break this down to me. Basically, when we talk about solving, real business issues, right? And also tell us about some of the deployment that you've had, because as a cloud service provider, you're seeing everything from that perspective, essentially as it goes to, okay, now it comes to deployment. It's not science experiment anymore. How do I support this?
Yeah, definitely. And cloud, is the hosting environment for all these applications, right? So we understand that very well. And we also understand that you need innovation and a tech stack that can be cost effective and also easy to use. So we're seeing that across all industries. We're seeing the ability to now bring the right partners together, because as I think you mentioned at the start of this, it's about the data center, it's about the cloud infrastructure, and then it's about the application layer and having the right configuration and the right integration and orchestration between those components. And that's not a simple thing. I mean, and there's companies and incumbents that are focused on one layer of that, one silo, but to bring that all together in a way that's smooth and optimized is a challenge. And that's where the partnership between Blaize, VSaaS, and OrionVM is. We are experts at what we do, but then when you aggregate that together, we're now delivering a solution that, as you're saying, Joseph, is solving business outcomes. It's allowing video surveillance distributors to now leverage the solution with their existing cameras and the existing ecosystems they have, and now add a very sophisticated layer of threat detection, smart inferencing on top of that, in a way where they can now deliver those core services, which is a challenge. It's not an easy thing to do.
Francisco, why don't you mention a little bit about basically some of the cool things that, like the aha moment from the customer side?
One is that is very easy for us is before, some customer had one operators that they manage like 40 cameras in real time. Now the same operators manage like 600 cameras. Our goal is 1,000. And customer, like before, they were like, "Oh, you're lying. This." And when they see it, they open their eyes, because it's not just the manpower that is reduced. They look at, oh my God, the productivity of that person's becomes very powerful.
When they saw what we could do for, say, $25 per camera, it was like too good to be true, because there's a lot of systems that force you to rip replace and have an CapEx outlay to deploy a sophisticated service. And the fact is, now with our partnership, we can take any IP camera and now add this layer of threat detection and a whole video surveillance platform on it very easily and very affordably. So there was that sort of light bulb moment where we had a person after person go, "Hey, there's people that solve one part of this problem, but nobody that's solved it in the way that you guys have done it."
We convinced one municipality. We started with 50 cameras, and we connect the cameras from the neighborhood, the cameras that were looking at the street. So before that, most of the municipality had to buy the street pole, put a camera, put the fiber, and the cost of that infrastructure was like $20,000 per pole, just the infrastructure.
Yeah.
We reduced that to $200.
That's insane.
So the customer was, because nobody believes. I didn't believe it too. So for me, it was funny. But when you tell the customer, "Hey, let's do a demo, let's deploy this," the customer was like, "Hey, friends," one guy told me, you are changing my mindset, because over the past 30 years, I just put poles in the street.
We hear on and on, kind of on and on again about leveraging, right? And I think that the word itself is that complement instead of rip and replace. And I think we have to kind of to take that as our mindset as we move forward, right? Is that AI does not mean that you need to replace, you need to actually to change anything. You have to change anything that you do. In fact, basically AI can help you. And this is where we are. This is kind of a devalued. And I can see directly, basically, if anyone asks me why, what is it about VSaaS that's cool? What is it about OrionVM that's cool? I will give you this one word, very, very simple. You guys work. It works. Let's hear our closing thoughts. Daniel, start with you.
I guess to call out first, it's still early in the cloud days. It's the first inning of the baseball game. There's been a lot of hype and noise, and we're still in early days, and things that are being developed and promoted now are foundational. And you need to find the right path for adoption. And I think what I'm excited about is we can, with some of these solutions, you can show a value immediately up front without a huge financial commitment, without a huge technical investment. Work with partners that can show you their value by giving you demos, POCs with your existing environments. And that if they can't, maybe there's something not fully mature there. So it's early days. And look for the innovation. Look for something maybe under the radar that's not just the completely the traditional solution. And there's a lot of emerging tech, a lot of partnerships happening that are bringing these solutions that solve a bunch of problems. So it's exciting because we're seeing that aggregation and that collaboration happen. But to get that out to the consumers, there's more effort and more marketing is needed.
Excellent. And to you, Francisco.
The word now is confusing because every day there's this new data center. So there's a niche of those type of clients that they will buy this huge infrastructure. But in another hand, there's a huge demand that they're not willing to pay for that. They're willing to consume that. And we are trying to focus on that niche.
I'm going to call that to be practical AI, a practical physical AI. Right. And then so Francisco, Daniel, thank you again for sharing your insights. It's been incredible. So what we heard today is clear, folks. There is a clear signal. There's a clear demands in the market where people want to deploy AI. People want to see AI in their life. And the partnership that we have right now allows us to do that. And with the right technology and the right mindset, we're able to bring you this solution. To our listeners, again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to subscribe. Click that subscribe button on Life on the Edge on our channel for more conversations with the leaders that will shape and has been shaping edge AI, physical AI, practical AI today and for the future. Until next time, thank you.